Okay, we're in section 13 of the notes. That's on the zero product rule. We certainly covered the material in class. We went through what the zero product rule is and how to use it. We did examples. The examples that we did were done in class or were thoroughly done. Hopefully that material was understood and that you studied it and you're ready to try it on your own. By doing that, we're hoping that you've completed the homework at this point for this section. Again, we went through these examples. The homework will look just like the same examples we've done in class. So what I'm going to do now is switch to the whiteboard. And hopefully you have the notes in front of you and your notebook in front of you with the solutions at this point. All right, just give me 1 second. Let's switch over to my whiteboard. And give me a second here. Okay, so let me tell you where we are. We're in section 13 of the notes. And we're doing the homework. And we'll start with problem number 1. So I'm going to write the problem down. Z times 2z plus 1 times 3z minus 2 equals 0. So you have 3 factors here. 1, 2, 3. And it's certainly equal to 0. So take each of the factors and set it equal to 0. Connect it with the word or. That last factor is 3z minus 2 equals 0. Well, the first equation is already solved, z equals to 0. Let's do the second equation. How do you do that? What you're going to do is subtract 1 from both sides and then divide through by 2. All right, let's write this down. Z equals 0, or z equals, again, remember we said subtract 1 and divide by 2, or, well, that last equation, add 2 and divide by 3. I'm going to recommend you look at the answer key. Make sure you're matching those answers. Z is 0, minus 1/2, 2/3, connected by the word or. Let's go to number 2. These should be relatively straightforward questions. Again, if you're having trouble with these problems after studying the material, going through the examples, and you still can't do it, come by during office hours and we'll help you with it. So what are you going to do over here? It's equal to 0. Got to get it factored. Looking for a GCF, 4, common to both of those terms, and x. What are you left off with? Well, let's see. You're left off with x minus 3 equals 0. Got two factors over here, and I'll write them down for you. I'm going to say 4x equals 0, or x minus 3 equals 0. Well, the first equation is really simple. 4 times what number gives you 0? X would have to be 0. Or the second equation is also pretty easy. X equals 3. Again, my recommendation to you is look at the answer key. Make sure you're staring at the answers x equals 0 or x equals 3. Let's go to problem number 3. And this one is 15 equals 8t minus t squared. All right, the first thing to do, I have to get a 0. And so this is how we're going to accomplish that. You could subtract 15 from both sides, but I'm going to make a recommendation to you that the coefficient on the square term should be a positive number. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to add t squared to both sides. And I'm going to subtract 8t from both sides. All right, what would you get? You would get t squared minus 8t, yes, I'm putting in a proper order, plus 15 equals 0. All right, I have the 0. Now I'm going to look for a product by factoring it. And let's see, 3 and 5, right? If you're struggling with factoring, you should not be in this section. You should go back to the section on factoring and learn that first. All right, so you get minus minus. That does work out. You do get t squared. Minus 5 minus 3 is minus 8. And minus 3 times minus 5 is plus 15. Works out beautifully. So t equals 3. That's when the first factor becomes 0. And the second factor becomes 0 when t is 5. Look at the key. What does it say? T is 3 or t is 5. All right, let's go to number 4 now. Again, these are relatively simple questions if you study the material. Homework really shouldn't take long once you master the material. These are pretty simple problems. So 3y cubed plus 54y squared plus 135y is equal to 0. It's already equal to 0. Look for a GCF. Looks like 3y. And what do you see? Y squared. 3 times what would be 54? That's 18, right? And y times y is y squared. 3 times what gives you 135? 45. And try to factor it now. It's quadratic, right? And I'm going to say 3 and 15. Looks pretty simple. Let me point out the factors we're looking at. And when do they become 0? Well, the first factor becomes 0 when y is 0, or the second factor becomes 0 when y is minus 3, or the third factor becomes 0 when y is minus 15. Again, I can't say enough times, look at the answer key. Make sure you're staring at those answers, minus 15, minus 3, and 0, and certainly they're collected by the word or. Let's go to number 5. Again, if this is going too fast for you, you probably haven't done homework. If you've done homework, this is just a verification. What you've done is either correct or incorrect. All right, you can also come back at the end of the week and watch these videos in their entirety, and you can pause them as you move along. What's number 5? 3y squared plus 7y minus 6 equals 0. Again, I'm going to try to factor. It's already equal to 0. 3y and y is my only choice for that. And let's say I get 6. I'm going to say 3 and 2. And plus and minus. Let's see if that works. You get 3y squared. 9y minus 2y is 7y. That worked beautifully. And you get minus 6. So I'll write this down for you. 3y minus 2 is 0, or y plus 3 is equal to 0. The second equation is super simple to solve. First equation, add 2 to both sides, divide both by 3. What do you get? Y equals 2/3. All right, look at the key. What does it say? 2/3 or minus 3. Let's go to 6. Again, these should be relatively simple questions once you study the material. So we see 2t squared plus 13t plus 15 equals 0. We already have the 0. We just got to get a product now. 2t, t, and 15. I'm going to say 5 and 2. I'm sorry, 5 and 3. I'll put this here and this here. Plus, plus. Does that work? 2t squared. 10t plus 3t is 13t. And you get 15. Let's go through it. 2t plus 3 equals 0, or t plus 5 is equal to 0. Second equation couldn't be simpler. T equals minus 5. First equation might be a challenge for you. Subtract 3 from both sides and divide 3 by 2. Again, look at the answer key. Make sure you can agree with it. What does it say? T is minus 5 or t is minus 3s. Go to number 7. And what's number 7? Solve for x. And that's going to be 16x minus 5. And again, what I want to encourage you here is positive coefficient on the square term. How do I do that? Subtract 16x from both sides and add 5. I have my 0. Now I need a product. And it looks like 5 and 1. And it looks like minus minus. Let's see if that works. 3x squared minus 15x minus 1x is minus 16x. And you do get plus 5. Let's write this down. 3x minus 1 equals 0. Or x minus 5 equals 0. Second equation couldn't be simpler, x equals 5. First equation may provide a challenge for some students. Add 1 to both sides, then divide by 3. And what do you get? X equals 1/3. Let's look at the answers. What does it say? 1/3 or 5. All right, let's go to number 8. And again, if you're watching these off schedule, it's pretty easy to watch them off schedule. All right, 2, and you can pause them in that case. And again, at any point you're confused, you can always come by during office hours to discuss these issues. Okay, what do I notice? No GCF, but there is 4 terms. So I'm going to try to do it by grouping. My suggestion is just accept the groups they give you. They may work. If they don't work, we have to rearrange it. So first two terms, 2y cubed minus 5y squared, I would say y squared is common to both of those terms. That would give you 2y minus 5. My recommendation, take the sign that's there. Not that it always works, but generally it does work. Minus, what's common between those two terms? 16. So what do you get? 2y minus 5. Now I have 2 terms, and what's nice about those 2 terms, they have something in common. They have a factor in common. That factor they have in common is 2y minus 5. What's left over? Y squared minus 16 equals 0. I'm going to continue to factor it. Y squared minus 16 is the difference of perfect squares, but you could also do it by trial and error. Y plus 4, y minus 4. All right, zero product rule. I'm going to look at them. There are 3 factors. This factor, this factor, this factor. I think I'm getting better though. I think I can write the solutions down pretty simply, right? So y minus 4 becomes 0 when y is 4. Y plus 4 becomes 0 when y is minus 4. And 2y minus 5 becomes 0. Well, add 5 to both sides and divide by 2. You would get 5 over 2. All right, let's look at the answers, see how we did. And again, I'm looking at the answer. That's all I'm doing. I see minus 4, I see 4, and I see 5 halves. Let's go to number 9. And number 9 is 19c minus 15c squared is equal to 6. Again, my recommendation is try to keep the coefficient on the square term to be positive. Well, I think I can do it by adding 15c squared to both sides, subtracting 19c from both sides, and you get a pretty simple statement. All right, we have an answer key to check. If we make mistakes, we'll know we made a mistake by checking the key. I'm going to say 5c and 3c. And then for 6, I'm going to say 3 and 2. All right, 2 there, 3 here. Who knows, it might work. And I put minus down. Let's see, 5c times 3c is 15c squared. That worked. 5c times minus 2 is minus 10c. Minus 3 times 3c is minus 9c. Combine to get minus 19c. Minus 3 times minus 2 is plus 6. Works out fine. What do we have? 5c minus 3 equals 0, or 3c minus 2 is equal to 0. Fairly simple equations, but again, you may not be at that level yet. Add 3 to both sides, divide by 5. Add 2 to both sides, divide through by 3. Let's write that down. So again, first one, add 3 to both sides and divide by 5. The second one, add 2 to both sides and divide by 3. Mistakes happen. That's why we encourage you to look at the answer key. So this one over here is 3/5 or 2/3. All right, let's go to number 10. And number 10 is 12 t cubed equals 75t. Again, I got to get 0. I'm going to do that by subtracting 75t from both sides. Factor it. I'm looking at it. I'm going to say 3 and a t. 4t squared minus 25 equals 0. 3t, 2t, this is a difference of perfect squares, minus 5. 2t plus 5 equals 0. And again, I'm looking at this. I'm going to use that as a factor, that as a factor, that as a factor. When do those factors become 0? Well, 3t becomes 0 when t is 0, or the second guy becomes 0, that's 2t minus 5, by adding 5 to both sides and dividing by 2, or the third guy becomes 0 when you subtract 5 from both sides and divide through by 2. Okay, look at the key, and I hope you're staring at those guys. 0, 5 halves, minus 5 halves. All right, let's go to number 11. This is like deja vu all over again, very similar to what you've done in class. And what do you see up here? 5n minus 1, n plus 2 equals 2n minus 1, 3n plus 2. Multiply it out. 5n squared plus 10n minus n minus 2. All right, multiply the next guy out. It's going to be 6n squared plus 4n minus 3n minus 2. Combine like terms. 5n squared plus 9n minus 2. 6n squared plus n minus 2. Again, I can't say this enough times. I want to encourage you to keep the coefficient on the square term to be positive. The way I'm going to do that is subtract 5n squared from both sides. Subtract 9n from both sides. I'm trying to get a 0. And add 2 to both sides. What do you get? Left side you get 0. Right side you get n squared minus 8n. 0, I got the 0, now I need a product, n minus 8. It's pretty simple. First factor becomes 0 when n is 0, or the second factor, n minus 8, becomes 0 when n equals 8. What do I recommend? Look at the key, n equals 0 or n equals 8. All right, we're coming back to the place in the lesson where we actually did word problems. And this is number 12 now. Number 12 says rectangle. So I'll put a rectangle down. I'm not saying it's their rectangle. It's enough to remind me that that's what a rectangle looks like. So it says the length of the rectangle, I'll write this over here, is 2 feet more than twice the width. This is the width. All right. It says the area of the rectangle is 84. Well, area is just length times width. So let's write this down. 84, the area, is equal to the length, which is 2w plus 2, times the width, which is w. So let's write this down. 84, 2w squared plus 2w equals 0, 2w squared plus 2w. I'm subtracting 84 from both sides. I'm going to factor out a 2, w squared plus w minus 42. And again, it would be unusual if this wasn't working out nicely. Let's see, 42, 7, and 6, right? Plus 7 minus 6. And yes, that does work out as a factorization of the problem. Again, I'm not even thinking about the problem. I'm thinking about the answer to this quadratic, which would be 6, or w equals minus 7. I got to wonder what the question was. And the question was, what's the length and width? I have to reread it again to know that. But I know for sure that width can't be negative. So this gets crossed off. It's extraneous. So what's the width? It's 6. Now 6 what? Go back and read it again. They're talking feet. All right, what's the length? And again, I want to go back and tell you what the length is. It's this thing over here. It's 2w plus 2. So what's twice w is 12, plus 2 is 14. So it's going to be 14 feet. Let me look at the key, see if that's what they wrote down. If they did, I'll move on. They said 6 feet and 14 feet. Let's go to number 13. It's a word problem. And looking at it, I'm reading it, they say something about it being a triangle. So I'm going to draw a generic triangle. Looks sort of like this over here. And I'll start reading it to you. And it says something about the base. I want to point out this is the base of it. I'm going to use the letter B. Now they say the base of the triangle is 4 less. Then they go on to mention the triangle's height. This is the height. I'm going to use the letter H for that. Height's H. So what do they say? They say the base of the triangle is 4 less than twice the height. All right, so I got that down. We keep reading it. They say the area is 63. Well, the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. I'm ready to write it down now. 63, the area is 1/2 times the base. Well, what's the base? It's 2h minus 4. What's the height? It's h. What am I going to recommend you do now? Multiply both sides by 2. All right, what do you get? Well, 2 times 63 is going to be 126. 2 times 1/2, this is an association, by the way, is 1. So what am I left off with? 2h minus 4 times h. Let's keep doing it. What I mean by simplifying it. 2h squared minus 4h. I'm going to subtract 126 from both sides. So I want to get a 0. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try to factor it. It would be really unusual if it didn't factor. Just keep doing it, see if it goes. Again, I'm no longer thinking about the words, no factoring. Looks like 9 and 7, right? Minus plus. So what's the answer over here? H equals minus 7 or H equals 9. I hope you remembered that we're talking about the height of a triangle. So it can't be negative. That goes out of the picture. So I think the height is 9. Now 9 what? Go back and read it. I'm going to put this over here for you. Whoops, sorry about that. So the height is 9. Now go back and read it, and they're talking inches. So 9 inches. Now what's the base? Well, I got to go back to the original, and the base is twice the height minus 4. 2 times 9 is 18. 18 minus 4 is 14. All right, what was your question? Find the base and the height, and we did that. Let's look at the answer key. What do they say? The base is 14 inches, and the height is 9 inches. All right, I'm going to switch to the other whiteboard. Give me 1 second to do that. And I'm going to try to do that quickly. And I want to go back to the actual document. So we did the problem. It's pretty quick to get through them. Once you master material, it's pretty quick to get through it. And again, you're allowed to use calculator if it's helping you, especially with arithmetic. But I want to go to this Sage code. So remember this thing over here, if it's in that color, it's clickable. Click on it. It's going to open up a web browser if your machines are properly configured. And then in that web browser, what's going to happen, it's going to launch the sagemath.org website. And what I'm claiming over here is I think you should go to CoCalc. All right, why CoCalc? It's the easiest way to use Sage. Sage is an introduction to programming. It's Python language. All right, so I'm going to do CoCalc. Click on it. Yep, I'm going to start a project. You notice up here it says it's stopped. It'll start it, and it'll launch this server. What I want to do is I want to create a new document, though. All right, I want a clean sheet of paper. And what kind of document do I want to create? A Sage worksheet. Don't worry about the name of it, by the way. Sage worksheet. It's going to create like a blank piece of paper, looks like a Word document, and I want to type some of this stuff in. First thing is reset. Remember, shift, I have to hit the shift button, and then the return. Then x equals a variable, and that variable's name is x. Okay. Then I'm going to say solve an equation. The equation I want to solve is x plus 2 times x minus 3. I'm just typing what I'm seeing. Remember, in Sage, a double equal sign means an equation. So it's really x plus 2 times x minus 3 is equal to 14. And yes, we did this one in class, and we want to solve for x. Shift return, and it's going to return the numbers to us. Again, when I say it returns the numbers to us, these are numbers that make this statement true, which is 5, and the other number is minus 4. Okay, so I want to see if the skills I've learned is enough to go back and do a problem that some students find difficult, which is number 11. So I'm going to see if I can do that. N is a variable. Remember, shift return, and I'm going to say solve. And I want to see if I can solve this. Now, what is it? 5 star n. I have to do that, by the way. I can't put 5n down. Minus 1 star n plus 2. I need to explicitly state it's a multiplication problem. Double equal sign indicates an equation. 2 star n minus 1 star 3 star n plus 2. And I want to solve for n. Remember, shift, return. If I make a mistake, it'll let me know I made a mistake. Of course, it returns immediately to me n equals 0 or n equals 8. We did that one together a few minutes ago. And what do we find? N equals 0, n equals 8. Yes, the machine's quick at it. We're not expecting you to use the machine to do your homework. We're expecting you to start to get an introduction to coding, though. All right, thank you.